So you have decided you want to move abroad. Maybe it was the medical bill, maybe it was the rent increase, maybe it was a Tuesday afternoon when everything just felt like too much. Whatever it was, you are now sitting there with a browser full of tabs about Portugal, Spain, Mexico and Thailand, and absolutely no idea how to make sense of any of it. That feeling is more common than you think. An estimated 5.5 million Americans currently live abroad, and that number is growing, with a 102% increase in Americans formally expatriating in just the first quarter of 2025 compared to the same period a year before. Quartz. Most of them started exactly where you are right now, excited, a little overwhelmed, and dangerously close to making a decision based entirely on a YouTube video about someone's beautiful apartment in Lisbon. This video is not that video. This is the framework you need before you book anything, commit to anything, or tell anyone at work that you are thinking about leaving. 7 categories, in the right order, taken seriously. Let us get into it. Before the categories, one important note. Most people approach this backwards. They fall in love with a country first. Then they try to make the practical details fit. That is how people end up spending 6 months planning a move to a country they cannot legally stay in for more than 90 days. A very common mistake is getting fixated on the country before determining whether you could even have a path to go there. The first question is always, what visas are available? So the order here is intentional. Start with what is possible, then decide what is desirable. This is not the most exciting place to start, but it is the most important, because none of the other 7 categories matter if you cannot legally live in the country you are considering. Every country has a different set of rules for how long you can stay, under what conditions, and what rights you have once you are there. For Americans, the common options in popular destinations generally fall into a few categories. Retirement or passive income visas, Portugal's D7, Costa Rica's pensionado, and Thailand's retirement visa are well-known examples. These typically require proof of a minimum monthly income, usually somewhere between $1,000 and $3,500 depending on the country. Digital nomad visas, Spain, Portugal, Costa Rica, and several others now offer visas specifically designed for remote workers. These require proof of income from a foreign source and usually a minimum income threshold. Some visas are tied to a specific employer or region. Retirement visas may require proof of income or healthcare coverage, and in some countries, even owning property does not automatically grant the right to live there. The practical questions to answer for each country you are considering are these. Is there a visa I actually qualify for? How long does it take to obtain? What are the income or savings requirements? Can I bring dependents? And what happens when it expires? Is renewal straightforward, or is there a path to permanent residency? Visa rules have tightened across popular destinations. Countries like Mexico, Portugal, and Thailand now have stricter residency requirements and higher income proof thresholds than just a few years ago. Do not rely on a blog post from 2021. Check official government immigration websites, and if the move is serious, speak to an immigration lawyer who specializes in the destination country. That consultation will cost you a few $100s. The cost of getting it wrong could be considerably more. This is where most people go wrong. They look at a cost of living index, they see that rent is cheaper, they do the maths on their current salary, and they feel enormously relieved. Then they arrive. Living abroad is probably not as cheap as you think. Costs are rising around the world, especially housing. House prices in the EU went up nearly 58% between 2010 and early 2025, while rents increased by more than 27%. CNBC. The blog post that told you Lisbon was cheap was probably written in 2019. A lot has changed since 2019. The honest way to evaluate cost of living is to break it into 5 specific categories. Housing. What does a rental actually cost in the specific neighborhood you would realistically want to live in? Not the rural village 3 hours from the nearest city, the place you would actually be happy. Food. How much of your diet will rely on imported goods? Because in countries where a significant proportion of food is imported, Your grocery bill may not be as dramatically different as you assumed. Healthcare, the monthly cost of private insurance if you are not yet eligible for the public system. This will be covered in its own section, but factor it into your monthly budget from day one. Transport, whether you need a car, and if so, what fuel, insurance, and maintenance cost in that country. And taxes, both the local tax obligations and your continued obligations to the IRS. As long as you maintain US citizenship, you are required to file federal taxes every year and report income from all sources, no matter where you live. The 2025 Foreign Earned Income Exclusion allows you to exclude up to $130,000 of earned income. But this does not exempt passive income like investments or dividends. Move away from USA. This is not a reason to avoid moving abroad. It is a reason to speak to an expatriate tax advisor before you go. Which brings us to the rule that applies to this entire framework. Research based on today's reality, not what you read 2 years ago. For many Americans, this is the category that matters most. It is also the most misunderstood. Here is the key fact to understand up front. Medicare does not cover you outside the United States. The moment you leave, you are responsible for your own healthcare costs unless you have arranged alternative coverage. The good news is that in many popular expat destinations, private health insurance is considerably more affordable than anything available in the American market. Key factors to evaluate when comparing healthcare systems abroad include quality of care, affordability, and accessibility for expats. Most countries require residency or visa registration for public healthcare access. So in the early stages of your move, private insurance is typically the only option. Global citizen solutions. The questions to answer for any country you are evaluating are these. Can I access the public healthcare system? And if so, when and under what conditions? What does private health insurance cost for someone my age with my health history? Are there English-speaking doctors in the areas I am considering? How far is the nearest hospital with specialist care from where I would be living? And if I have an existing condition that requires ongoing medication, is that medication available legally in that country? In many developing countries, counterfeit medications are a genuine concern. If you rely on specific prescriptions, confirm that pharmacies carry the medications you need and whether or not a new prescription will be required to obtain them. Move Buddha. This is not meant to alarm you. It is meant to ensure that healthcare is a fully evaluated factor rather than an afterthought. This category gets less attention than it deserves in most moving abroad conversations. People focus heavily on lifestyle and cost. They spend considerably less time asking whether the country they are considering is politically stable, how safe it is for foreign residents, and whether its legal system offers meaningful protection. The practical tools for this evaluation are straightforward. The US State Department issues travel advisories for every country in the world. These are graded from level 1 to level 4 and are updated regularly. Check them, read them properly, not just the summary, look at the trend, not just the current rating. A country moving from level 2 to level 3 tells you something different than one that has been stable at level 2 for 5 years. Research the political environment specifically as it relates to foreign residents. Some countries have a long history of welcoming expats and have stable legal frameworks for property ownership and residency. Others have histories of policy changes that have affected foreign residents significantly. And think about the broader question of where you want to place yourself geographically, given the current state of the world. This is worth sitting with quietly for longer than most people allow themselves. This one tends to get either dismissed entirely or dramatically overestimated. The dismissal sounds like everyone speaks English these days, it will be fine. The overestimation sounds like I could never live somewhere I do not speak the language fluently. Neither extreme is particularly accurate. The honest answer is that language matters more the deeper you go into daily life. Tourist areas and major expat hubs have sufficient English in many countries to function comfortably day to day. But setting up a bank account, dealing with a landlord dispute, navigating a medical situation, or understanding an official government letter, these are the moments where language suddenly matters very much. Deep friendships take time. Even for extroverts, it can take 2 to 3 years to feel like you have a strong community abroad. Learning the language is essential for true integration, and most people are still beginners after a year. The practical evaluation here is not whether you speak the language today. It is whether you are genuinely willing to learn it and whether you have an honest sense of how adaptable you are to different cultural norms. Cultural fit is harder to measure than cost of living, but it is often the thing that determines whether someone thrives abroad or quietly miserable for 3 years before moving home. Talk to people who live in the country you are considering, not just the enthusiastic ones on expat forums. Find the ones who have been there for 5 or 10 years and ask them what the hard parts actually were. This is the category that most travel content completely ignores, because it is not glamorous. But it is the category that affects your quality of life every single day. The questions in this category are deliberately mundane. How reliable is the internet? And not just in a city centre and the kind of area you would actually want to live. How does public transport work, and is it adequate for how you intend to live? Central air conditioning is common in the US but rare in many countries. In much of Europe, mini-split units that cool only specific rooms are standard. In some climates, this matters considerably more than it sounds. So she slays, what is the road infrastructure like? If you need a car, what are the rules around foreign licenses and local registration? What are the banking options for foreign residents? Some countries are straightforward. Others make opening a local bank account genuinely difficult until residency is fully established. How far are you from an international airport with direct flights back to the United States? This matters more than you think, especially in the first year when travel back and forth is likely to be more frequent. And, underrated consistently, what is the weather actually like for 12 months of the year? A lively beach community buzzing in the dry season might turn damp and deserted when rains hit, with flooded roads and closed shops. Research beyond the tourist months and visit during the off-season if at all possible before committing. Central America. This last category is the one most people skip, and it is probably the most important one on this list. Moving abroad to escape politics, a bad relationship, financial pressure, or personal restlessness often leads to regret. Running from problems rarely works. Wherever you go, there you are. Before you evaluate any country, it is worth spending honest time evaluating your own motivations. Are you moving towards something? A slower pace of life, lower costs, a specific experience, a new chapter? Or are you moving away from something, key stress, a difficult situation, a version of your life you no longer want? The distinction matters because a new country will not resolve the second category. It will simply give you more interesting scenery while you deal with it. The other emotional factor worth naming directly is distance from family. Vacationing abroad is not the same as actually living overseas. You do not fully grasp the reality of culture shock until you are in it. And the distance from family is something most people underestimate until they are far away and something happens at home. This is not a reason not to go. It is a reason to go with your eyes open. So here is the framework in one place. Start with the visa. Confirm there is a legal pathway that applies to your situation before you fall in love with the destination. Evaluate the real cost of living based on current data. Build a monthly budget that includes housing, food, transport, healthcare, and taxes. Understand the healthcare landscape. Know what coverage you need, what it costs, and what the quality is in the specific area you are considering. Assess safety and political stability using current official sources, not anecdotal impressions. Be honest about language and cultural fit, not as a barrier, but as a variable that will shape your day-to-day experience significantly. Evaluate the practical infrastructure, internet, banking, transport, climate throughout the year, and do the emotional audit. Understand why you are going, what you are hoping to find, and what you are genuinely prepared to leave behind. No country will score perfectly on all 7. The goal is not perfection. The goal is an honest picture, so that when you arrive, the reality you encounter is roughly the one you prepared for. Until you actually live in a place, you will not fully know if it is the right fit. Plan on giving it at least a year before drawing conclusions. That is the most honest piece of advice in this entire video, and it is worth sitting with. If this video helped you think more clearly about a decision you are genuinely considering, subscribe to this channel. This is exactly what we do here. No hype, no influencer content, no one telling you a country is perfect when it is not. Just honest, structured analysis for people who are taking this seriously. There are more videos coming that go deeper on individual countries, specific visa pathways, and the financial side of moving abroad in 2025. If that is useful to you, subscribe so you do not miss them. The research you do now is the reason the move goes well later.